Breakups are often the symptom of problems in a relationship. My workbook series, The Knowledge, is focused on helping you change your life in 4 key areas: retaining the information that I teach, personal growth, improving your relationships, and of course, re-attracting your ex. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
Hi there, I'm Coach Margaret.
And today we're going to be talking about secure, anxious, and avoidant.
Again.
Yeah.
Or still.
We're going to be talking about the attachment styles today because attachment is absolutely critical in understanding relationships, love, and breakups.
Yes.
And Margaret and I have really tried to help you guys understand this because when you get the insight and you start to see things more clearly, it can help you put the pieces of the puzzle better together.
Yes.
Okay? So today we're going to be talking about Sue Johnson, who has not had the pleasure of meeting me yet.
No, but you found her on YouTube.
Yeah, a long time ago.
A long time ago.
And I absolutely love her work. And I was going to try and go to a convention last year where she was presenting at. Maybe I'll make it to the next one because she would love to meet me.
She would love to meet you, and she'd love to know what you've done with her theory. I'm sure she really would.
Sue Johnson is one of my favorite clinicians out there.
Yes. She's a current Bowlby.
Yes.
And she takes some of her work from Bowlby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bowlby we just talked about in another recent video.
Yes.
And Sue Johnson really started to understand attachment and stuff like that. I think probably based on some of his
Based
stuff.
on much of Bowlby's work. Now,
So she's very important too. And been very, what's the word I'm looking for?
very informative to the world.
Influential into
yeah.
me and coming up with the different stuff that I have learned.
And you know, it's very important, and I did it for many different people who I think had a big influence. You try to see them speak, hear them speak before they die or move away or get old or whatever they do. So we'll make an effort to hear Sue Johnson at some point.
Well, she should come to us, Margaret, at this point.
Wait till she sees what we've done with her work. She'd be very happy. She's one of those people...
She's going to send us a cease and desist.
Yeah, right? That she's one of those people that if you hear her speak, even on TV or, you know, on Facebook, whatever, you're drawn to her. She's one of those people.
So even if you don't care about Sue, you'll care about Margaret and I teaching you some good stuff.
We hope
that's
so.
going to help you understand your relationships and your breakups anyway, right?
Yes.
All right.
Now, Susan Johnson was born in England, and...
Like John Bowlby.
Yes, like John Bowlby, absolutely. Yeah, there was some early English guys who did some stuff about attachment. Now, think about the royal family. Do you see a lot of attachment there? Think about that. I think we're seeing a little more now, which is why we're so interested.
Well, I think that we saw attachment with Diana and the boys.
Absolutely.
And I don't think the Queen was too thrilled with that.
No, she wasn't. No. Okay, so Sue I'm going to read a story to you from Sue, which she has left us, and she has found stories to illustrate each attachment style in her own family, which she is generously sharing with us here. So she says, just for fun, I've picked 3 of my English relatives to illustrate the 3 basic styles of attachment. My father, Arthur, had a secure style. He listened when I, his only child, announced that I was going to Canada. Now think about that. That probably looked like the Brave New World if you were British.
Yeah.
And back there, you know, many years ago.
I wonder what year that was.
I don't know.
Probably the 70s, maybe?
I would guess so. Yeah. Anyway, she tells him she's going to Canada, and he told her how much he would miss her, and then asked if she needed anything.
There you go. That's secure right there.
This is secure attachment. Yeah. I'm going to miss you. What do you need from me? He gave me the encouragement I was longing for, and also told me that I could always come back home to him if things didn't work out in Canada. He also wrote me regular loving letters. He freely offered support to others as well. He had been in World War II as a naval engineer, and apparently the family owned a pub, and he would comfort veterans who had lost their buddies and were crying in the pub. I guess he was a bit of a helper himself.
Yeah.
And he'd be helping them when they came in to drink or do whatever they did.
So if he was probably secure, maybe with a little anxious type in him, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because he wants to help others and
He wants to help others,
do the
right.
caretaking thing.
My lanky Aunt Chloe, who looked exactly like Popeye's Love olive oil. Does everybody remember Popeye's olive oil?
I think so.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Hopefully we're not that old, Margaret.
Had a highly anxious style. She thought my small, portly Uncle Cyril, with his Elvis Presley pompadour, was fatally attractive to other women, and that even his pot belly added to his sexual allure.
Certainly. How could it not?
He went away on business often, and when she talked about this, Aunt Chloe would tear up and openly wonder if he were having what she called lascivious liaisons. Now, lascivious is not a word we hear very often.
No, we don't.
But it's connected with the law that applies to pedophiles, that they get arrested for lascivious behavior. So she wondered if he was having lascivious liaisons, a wonderful phrase.
Wow.
His habitual silence when he was home did nothing to reassure her. She would hang onto his arm at family gatherings as if he were about to vaporize. Even back then, I thought that she might have been less clingy if he had been a little more open and talkative.
Yeah.
After all, he was hard to know, and I never felt any real sense of safety with him either. So he didn't make her comfortable either. This one's a little sadder. Tall, gruff Harold was extremely avoidant. So we've been through Father, secure, Aunt Chloe, anxious, and here's avoidant Uncle Harold. When I went to stay at his home and burst into tears because my teddy bear had become filthy from the mud pies I fed him earlier, and then had come apart when I scrubbed him with toilet cleaner, Harold told me, "Cut the soppy stuff," and sent me to my room.
Oh.
Right? Now, as a kid, what had she done wrong? Got her teddy bear muddy. All right, but he was having none of that, none of that feeling stuff. He was unapproachable, especially by little girls.
Yeah.
And usually spent his days in the garden and often slept on the pull-out bed in the shed.
He's probably drunk.
Probably. I thought of that too. So he was really avoidant. When I was present, he never touched Vina, his friendly, jolly wife of 30 years. Now, I don't know how she did that living with him. Still, he nursed her when she became ill, and 3 months after she died, he committed suicide.
Wow.
He couldn't be close, but he couldn't manage without her either.
Wow.
And
So that just goes to show you the avoidant can attach on some level.
Absolutely, and desperately wants to be attached and couldn't live without it.
Wow.
And however she did it.
So that goes to show you guys to think about it.
Yeah.
When she passed away, he was overwhelmed with anxiety because you guys always say, well, my ex is avoidant, they don't think about me, they don't miss me.
Right, and that's why this is kind of a sad but a very wonderful portrayal.
So
and she's talking about how crazy it sounds, but that's what happened.
And I think it's important for them to understand that even if your ex was an avoidant, it doesn't mean that they won't want you back or miss you too.
And love you in whatever way they can.
It's just not the same as yours.
I would guess that Vina, his friendly, jolly wife, had figured out how much closeness he could and couldn't handle. Yeah. All right, one more paragraph that she follows up with describing this further. Attachment styles line up neatly with the basic way we see ourselves and others. These mental models shape the way we regulate our emotions, and they guide our experiences in love relationships, assigning meaning to our partner's actions and becoming if this, then that.
That's important. Let's talk
This,
about
then
that.
Yeah.
The assigning meaning to the behavior, right? That's really important because an anxious person would assign completely different meaning to a behavior than avoidant would.
Right.
Right? So an anxious person might see the teddy bear destroyed and say, oh, I'm so sorry, let's go sew it back together and let's take care of that for you. Where the avoidant says, "Oh, quit with this
I
mushy
can't handle
stuff."
all the emotion. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so your ex is always going to be doing that with your behavior like you do to theirs. And so part of the struggle is accepting that your ex probably has a different attachment style than you, and not villainize it, not say that it's horrible that they have this, but understand
it.
And saying, you know what, there are pros and cons to the avoidant attachment style. Believe it or not, I mean, if you think about it, if you grew up in a home where your parents neglected you all the time, well, if you kept going to them, you would just keep getting hurt by them.
Like she tried to go to rough Uncle Harold.
But if eventually you say to yourself, you know what, I don't need anybody, I'm going to take care of myself, you would become more self-sufficient and you would stop getting hurt. Now, of course, there's going to be negative aspects to that, like not getting close to other people in the future, but there are positive ways or things that come from being avoidant.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, people wouldn't do it.
It protected them in a very basic way when they were children, okay? From being rejected or from being smothered. Yeah.
And the same thing goes for the anxious attachment style.
Absolutely.
There's positive things about that. If you're anxious towards people and you're always around them, well, physically you're keeping yourself safe. You don't get lost from the tribe.
That's right.
You don't get killed by the bear because you haven't left everybody's side.
That's right. That's right. And then she goes on to how various styles see other people. Excuse me. She says people with secure styles generally see themselves as competent and worthy of love. And they see other people as being workable and open to love. Anxious people, on the other hand, tend to see other people as better than they are and have strong doubts about their own value and basic acceptability as partners. Okay, so if you're anxious, you think the other person is much better than you, okay, and you worry all the time that they're going to discover that.
Yep,
okay?
and abandon you.
And abandon you, yeah. As a result, they obsessively seek approval and reassurance that they are indeed lovable and not about to be rejected. Okay? So anxious people can look needy sometimes, but it's just because they want to be reassured that they're lovable.
Yeah.
So be patient and reassure them. Avoidant folks, meanwhile, view themselves as worthy of love. At least they'll tell you that. Consciously, they think they're worthy of love. At least that's their conscious presentation of self. Any self-doubt is suppressed.
Yeah.
They have a view of others as inherently unreliable and untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Even in their stories and dreams, anxious people portray themselves as apprehensive and unloved.
Wow.
While avoidants see themselves as distant and unfeeling. That's heavy duty, right?
It really is.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. The anxious folks see themselves not as lovable and see the other person as better. The avoidant person thinks they are lovable, but sees other people as untrustworthy and unapproachable.
Yep.
All right? That's the state of things according to Susan Johnson. How generous of her to share the example from her family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've talked about these things with my family in videos over the years. Yeah. My mom was anxious, but she was also very giving as a mom.
Yes.
So until her anxiety was set off, that's when she would start to not be able to hear me or listen to my needs or ignore my needs. My dad, on the other hand, is very avoidant.
Yes.
And but now we have a much healthier relationship. I've been able to work with that. I understand where he's coming from, and I understand, you know, where his aspect.
And you worked very hard at that.
Yeah. So now we have a good relationship. So, you know, I'll share things like that in the future, in future videos, so you can see when I'm explaining examples as well. But, you know, these examples will help you see things a little bit more clearly too.
I hope so. It kind of makes it real.
What about your parents? I mean, do you remember them? I don't know how long the memory lasts.
My mother was probably anxious, and I think my dad was avoidant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant, but avoidant. He'd share with you intellectually, but don't ask him to be too affective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll talk about this again in the future because it's so helpful. And when you hear our personal examples,
Sure.
it helps you clarify things. And you guys, one of the things that you need to do is not only look at your ex, but look at yourself, look at your mother, look at your father, look at your best friend, look at your boss, and try and
Sure.
figure out what their attachment style is. Because when you can figure out them, it's going to make your life a lot easier because you'll understand their needs better.
And don't think that the business world hasn't discovered this. I have taken some stuff from several business publications who are really seriously looking at relationships in, the workplace. Yeah. And we were talking earlier saying, in baseball, think about it. There's all kinds of stuff. These people live together, they play together, they're on the bus together, they stay in the hotel together. They must find some way to deal with each other. So this is useful in every area.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So hopefully you found it helpful,
I
and
hope so.
give Margaret a thumbs up for doing the research on this video. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching option that works best for you. I do email coaching, I do Skype coaching. Margaret is also available for Skype coaching.
Or if you have any questions about what it was like to live in medieval England. Yeah.
You can ask her in the Skype. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And we will talk with you soon. I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different, and every breakup is different. Work with me, and you'll get professional help on your situation. Just click on the link in the description below, or go to my website, askcraig.net.